this video, I will be comparing the Sony ECM-LV1 stereo lavalier microphone with the AOM-5024-L microphone by PUI Audio. Here I'm going to be comparing it in a number of different use cases. All right, now I'm going to speak naturally. This is this AOM-50 whatever microphone from PUI Audio into the Tascam DR05X. I'm speaking at a reasonably loud volume, and my gain on the Tascam is 20 out of a maximum of 90, and this is how it sounds. This is how I would gain it if I wanted to speak without risk of clipping the audio. I'm going to be quiet and we're going to listen for noise. So now this is about the level I would keep it at for having a conversation, recording audio, voice, vocals. I'm at about 40 out of 90 on the Tascam DR05X. This is the Sony stereo lapel mic in a quiet room, and now I'm going to be quiet. This is the AOM-5024-L in a quiet room. I am re-recording this because recording with MP3, I was actually hearing quantization noise. The noise level was so low that I was getting a weird artifacting noise in the background, which almost sounded like noise cancellation, which I don't think is what's going on. I think the noise floor on this thing is so low that it actually sounds worse, ironically. So this is a repeat test using WAV file instead of MP3. And now I'm going to be quiet and we're just going to listen to the environment. This is a repeat test of the Sony stereo mic, and in the lav position, just like the AOM-5024-L was. Here I'm using a gain of 4.0 instead of the 2.0 of the previous mic. So I'm using a higher gain level. This is a less sensitive microphone. And I wasn't hearing the quantization error, or quantization noise, I guess I'd call it, because of the higher hiss in this mic. But here I'm recording it again in WAV format so that I'm comparing apples to apples in terms of these microphones. This is the AOM microphone in a quiet bedroom, and I'm whispering from 2 or 3 feet away. Maximized gain on the Tascam DR05X. This is the Sony, ECM stereo lapel mic with gain maximized in a quiet room. The Tascam DR05X has gain of 90. This is the AOM-5024-L or something from PUI Audio, and it's a single capsule, so we're going in mono. And I've got the DR05X gain turned down to 60 instead of the 90 it was on with the Sony lavalier, as well as the built-in microphones. Targeting a ambient input of -20 dB. This is a test of Sony's stereo microphone. I'm at 100% gain on the Tascam DR05X. Levels around -20 dB. All right, a few closing thoughts. Most of these clips were recorded in MP3. I only discovered at the end of my testing that this new microphone, this AOM-5024-L, has such a high dynamic range that you can actually be quantizing your lower level signals, your noise, while your loudest signals are fine. So just the dynamic range of this microphone is so large that it demands better encoding of the audio file. So that's a mistake on my part. However, a lot of these tests were already noisy inherently. I had either cranked the gain because I was testing the low noise performance of the mic, or I was testing in a noisy environment like a rainstorm. So I'm not too worried about that. The other thing I'll say is I low pass filtered a few of them at 60 hertz, just because I had so much hum from low amplitude or low frequency sources, not even mainline hum, but just it made it easier to level everything. And then I adjusted the gain to either -6 or -3 dB. I always matched them between mics so that I got similar results. In my opinion, this new microphone, this AOM-5024-L, has less electronic hiss than the stereo lav mic. However, this doesn't really matter for louder sources, like, again, in this rainstorm. And one could argue about which one sounds more balanced. Maybe the stereo mic is a bit more bright than this other one. The other one has a bit more bass to it, I think. So I don't know how these are balanced in terms of that, their frequency response. Oh, and then a final note. This is all mono that you're listening to, even though I was comparing to a stereo lav mic. I only have a single capsule on the AOM-5024-L, and so I was just grabbing the single track from both mics, so that I was comparing apples to apples. So anyway, this was interesting for me. I like the mic. I'm going to continue with the build now that I've done some preliminary testing.